I had always been this little feminist from the time I was a kid.
Right.
Really, they remember that from school.
Yeah.
So it was natural that I was looking for a woman's issue. And it came to me when I was out promoting Little House on the Prairie. I was the chief promoter for our show because Mike had to work
Hmm.
on so many areas. And of course, the children couldn't be expected to do
Sure.
that. So I was in Fort Worth, Texas, and I met this journalist who started describing a series of articles she had just done on battered wives. And I was completely shocked. I was like, I had no idea.
Right.
I thought this was limited to people who were very poor or very uneducated. I had no idea that this cut across all class lines, all races, all religions.
Right.
So I was passionate then. This had to be the subject. And my writing partner, Cynthia Lovelace Sears, agreed with me. This was the one. So we began work. And what an education we got
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
these women. It was unbelievable. And we were very lucky because one of the two shelters in the whole country was within an hour's drive of where we were.
This isn't too long ago, and there was two shelters to choose from, for this sort of thing. And putting this project together, was it something where you were instantly were like, okay, this is the medium in which I want to do this? Because you had talked about in one of your interviews that the movie of the week was where you cover a social topic was becoming very popular across different networks. Was that instantly where you put that connection and said, okay, I want to put Battered out onto, as a movie of the week, bring awareness to it? Or did it have any other form? Were you thinking about different ways to distribute it or get that message out?
No, I knew that my particular clout was in television,
Yeah.
And I had just gotten it. So that was definitely the playground for me. Yeah. And I knew that the success of Little House on the Prairie could buoy this project.
It was not easy for you on the backside of this as well, trying to get it out. It's ironic that a project like this would be attempted to be taken over by a male producing team and writing team and trying to rework it. But I mean, the cast is incredible. I watched it a few days ago. Mike Farrell off of MASH, LeVar Burton. I mean, it's a really well-made movie. There were a lot of made for TV movies that didn't cover anything transgressive at all or get into topics like this. And again, like I've been for the last 2 years, I've been doing advocacy work when it comes to sexual abuse by clergy, and it's difficult now to get people to listen to you, to get the message out, to not have people upset. I get very angry messages and comments and thoughts on it. And during this time period, it's fascinating to me that you were taking the charge on this.
Thank you. And congratulations on your advocacy. When you talk about the blowback that you get, is that from people who are offended that you take the church to task?
Yeah, that's a lot of it for sure. The religious side affects it. I mean, because that's an institution that people don't want touched. There's it's something that means something to them, and so and I understand that. I grew up in that same world, so I understand those feelings, but it also doesn't negate the problem that's there. You have to talk about it, and again, just having the conversation, I think, moves us a long way. But it's sad. I mean, you talk about the Equal Rights Amendment. The fact that it's still, every year you could record an interview saying, and it's still not there. It's still not there. We have so much work to do. I'm curious to get your take on that before we kind of move into the close here. The Me Too movement has took off in full swing a few years ago, which for many who've been advocates for a long time, that's been a shock to see it talked about this openly, to see conversations like this happening. I spoke with someone a while ago who, was trying to start a rape crisis center in the 70s, and how difficult that was. What has the Me Too movement really meant for you? What has seeing people come out and be able to be outspoken in these areas, what has that meant to you as someone who has been advocating this for so long?
It actually has been fantastic. I'm so grateful to these young women who broke it open, and the others who came on board. I'm just so grateful. Because I do believe that they are making real change.
Yeah.
And I think this is fantastic, just fantastic. Also, because I was not physically assaulted, I didn't feel that my story had the same punch that theirs had. But listening to everything, talking it over with a friend of mine who's a psychologist, I realized this is harassment as sure as a physical assault.
Yeah.
What happened to me, because I had to face work every day in this atmosphere. And I was talking to Megyn Kelly in an interview recently, and she said, Karen, it's part of the law.
Yeah. That
creating a negative environment is harassment. And I was like, oh, right. So what happened to me was before Anita Hill. Yeah. Brave woman who, they just really shredded her. And here she is. She's still working. She's still fighting. Yeah. What a tremendous role model.
Right. Yeah, it's there was a documentary just recently. I think it's called Anita, but it's a fascinating documentary. And again, it's these people that go out in front and share their story, and years later, society catches up. And it's still catching up in so many ways. But I just wanted to thank you. I mean, in your book, spending so much time, you could have written a version of your book that was very just glossy, a glossy view. You could have sold with a picture of you on the cover. You could have sold plenty of copies of my experience in Little House on the Prairie and kept it just on the positives of it. And I appreciated that you were, I think, balanced and fair, but also authentic about your experience, and took so much time to talk about, your work as an advocate. In the end of the book, I thought was really helpful and powerful. And you've allotted a lot of time in interviews to talk about it as well. So thank you for that. I think that's commendable.